Episode 491. With the targets splitting left and right, Ye Shu and his group had no choice. They split into two teams as well, with those in the water chasing one side and those on the shore blocking the other. But once they split into two groups, they further scattered into smaller units. No one stuck with a partner. Each had their own plan, and in an instant they dispersed even more widely. Tang Ru and her group weren't going into the water, they were just chasing people along the shore. Even veteran players from the major guilds were floundering like total noobs in there. As for Tang Ru and Steamed Bun, even with their top-tier skills, they'd need to practice in the water first, otherwise they'd just be even worse down there. As for Concealed Light, he was even worse. The row of summons he'd lined up on the shore was all for show. Right now, his palms were slick with sweat. The guilds were being far too cautious. If they just worked up the nerve to charge these summons, they'd have realized in an instant that these creatures were about as sturdy as paper. It was simply because the summoners' control was so abysmal that their blockade on the shore ended up catching nothing at all. They swam along the shore for a bit, then scattered. Some turned back, some kept hugging the coastline, and others just headed straight for deeper water. Tang Ru and the others were also unsure which way to chase, but then they received a message from Ye Shu.
Chase the ones that turned back.
Got it.
Tang Ru got the message, called out to her team, and immediately turned to chase down those who had reversed course. So, many players who hadn't been heading this way now saw their chance, and they all began scrambling to find a spot to land. Tang Ru saw this and wanted to turn back to fight, but Ye Shu sent her another message.
Ignore them. Keep chasing.
Why?
Tang Ru was just directing Soft Mist to run along the shore, with plenty of time to spare to send a few messages.
Too many people to fight effectively.
Ye Shu, however, seemed rather busy and didn't type much in reply. Tang Ru swung her view around. Nearly 10 players had already climbed ashore from various points behind them, all of them alert, their gazes fixed in their direction. Tang Ru knew these were all high-level players. She could handle a one-on-one no problem. But if they came in numbers and coordinated their tactics, their little group here really couldn't afford to take that risk. Understanding Ye Shu's intent, Tang Ru continued to obediently chase after the few who were doubling back, along with Steamed Bun Invasion and Concealed Light. But these guys were sharp. Seeing people had made it ashore over there, they immediately turned around again and started paddling toward the already landed group, clearly aiming to link up for support.
What do we do now?
Tang Ru was momentarily at a loss. Her PvP skills were solid, but her strategic thinking was still a long way off.
Keep after them.
Ye Shu replied. Tang Ru immediately called to those around her, and they all turned back as one. Over a dozen players had finally made it ashore. Seeing Soft Mist and her group charging straight at them, they scrambled to get into formation. She wasn't on the same professional level as Ye Chu or Su Mu Cheng, but she was still a force to be reckoned with. They had all heard about Soft Mist's heroic feat, how she had fought her way out of Kongji City single-handedly during the last pursuit and encirclement of Lord Grimm and his crew. While they hadn't deployed their top-tier elites for that fight, the sheer skill and nerve required to carve a path out of that mob single-handedly was something no one present could claim to possess.
Heal up! Get that HP topped off and go! Hurry! Ambush positions, now!
A dozen or so people were in a chaotic mess. Those who'd been injured in the water were urgently calling for the cleric to heal them. The water fight was a complete mess. There was no coordination whatsoever. They couldn't even manage the most basic support, like having a cleric heal. The cleric in the team was busy casting healing spells one after another. Seeing the light wash over them, the players still in the water felt their courage surge as the enemy drew near. The dozen or so men quickly got themselves in order and, instead of retreating, charged straight toward Tang Ru and her companions.
And now?
Tang Ru sent a message to Ye Shu.
Go ahead and kill it.
Huh? Then why didn't you let us turn back and fight them earlier?
Then we'd just be letting the ones in the water get away.
That's ruthless.
Wasn't it exactly what you wanted?
Perfect.
Tang Ru replied with a smiley face.
Any problems?
Maybe a little.
At the All-Star Weekend, Tang Ru truly saw what it meant that there was always someone better. The skill of the pro players and the teamwork in the All-Star Showdown had made Tang Ru far more humble and cautious. She was gradually discovering the gap between herself and a true expert.
You could try hitting some into the water.
Huh? Are you in the water?
Of course.
Which spot?
It's not far from you. Just aim for the water. Once they're in the water, leave them to me.
Got it.
Tang Ru closed the message window. More than a dozen opponents were closing in, and the players in the water were poised to surge out. Before Tang Ru could say anything, Steamed Bun Invasion was a step ahead, sending a crossed swords emoji and shouting,
Kill! Concealed light. Hurry up and keep up.
Steamed Bun Invasion's shouted slogan had the entire opposing team of over a dozen people in perfect sync.
If it were Soft Mist shouting that, they might have just gritted their teeth and taken it.
But Steamed Bun Invasion was only level 33, and the summoner he was calling out to, Concealed Light, was a mere level 34. Where on earth did these two get such unshakable confidence? The dozen or so men were all a bit baffled. They took a careful look around. They knew there was only one guy in the woods firing that black powder cannon. Could there be more people hiding in the woods besides this one?
Damn, could there be more ambushers?
Someone just said it out loud. They hadn't done any kind of check on the woods since coming ashore.
No retreat! We go in now!
Another man yelled, so the three of them charged forward bravely. The dozen or so others, however, were full of trepidation. Their eyes kept darting to the small grove, the thick grass, and every other possible hiding spot, terrified that an ambush might be waiting. Distracted, the man in front took Steamed Bun Invasion's brick right to the face.
What the hell? I thought you were supposed to be a pro.
Steamed Bun Invasion smacked the guy with a brick, then stood there looking thoroughly unimpressed.
Shit!
Enraged by the brick to his head, the berserker raised his greatsword and brought a mountain-shattering strike crashing down on the trio.